My name is Cassandra Gray. I am 42 years old and I live in a small, quiet town called Mapleton, Oregon. Life here moves at a gentle pace with tall trees lining the streets and friendly neighbors who greet you with warm smiles. I used to love that about my town, but lately things have felt different. I work as a librarian at the local library, a job I have had for years, and I take pride in it. I enjoy my interactions with the community, sharing my love of stories with children and helping adults find the books they need. It gives my life meaning. However, deep down I am feeling unsatisfied with my life. I crave excitement, adventure, and a sense of justice for something that happened to me years ago, something that has been lingering in my heart like a stone. One day, while I was cleaning the library's archives, I stumbled across an old newspaper clipping that made my heart race. It was an article about a charity gala that had been held to raise money for our community center. I remembered that night vividly because it had been the same night everything changed. I had been the one who organized that gala, working tirelessly to make it a success. But amidst the glamour and laughter, someone had decided to ruin it for me. In the article, I noticed a familiar name among the donors, someone I had once considered a close friend, someone who had betrayed me. Sarah Hutchins. She had been my best friend since childhood, and I trusted her completely. But she had conspired against me, taking my ideas and presenting them as her own to climb the social ladder. That betrayal left me feeling utterly defeated, and Sarah's rise to popularity felt like a knife twisting in my back. This revelation ignited a fire within me. I resolved to confront Sarah to make her see the pain she had caused me. I wanted justice, not just for myself, but for anyone she had wronged. So I reached out to my contacts in the town, gathering evidence of her deceit. I learned that Sarah had enchanted everyone with her charm, and she had built a reputation as a philanthropic icon. She had people under her spell, and I realized my first attempt to expose her would be difficult. I started attending her events incognito, gathering information and seeing just how deeply her lies ran. The first event was a fundraiser for the animal shelter. I nearly had a heart attack when I saw how effortlessly she charmed everyone with heartwarming stories that danced around the truth. But every time I tried to speak to someone privately about Sarah, they dismissed me as bitter and jealous. It was infuriating. I felt more isolated than ever. I thought I would take a more strategic approach. I organized a community meeting centered around charity projects, and naturally I invited Sarah. I believed that putting her on the spot would reveal the truth and force her to confess. During the meeting, however, Sarah took charge, turning my initiative into her spotlight, and everyone hailed her as the queen of charity. It felt like my heart was being stomped on as she took my ideas, dressed them up with her flair, and claimed them as her own. When I attempted to speak out, my voice trembled and the words simply would not come. Sarah smiled at me with that knowing gleam in her eye that taunted me, echoing my past humiliation. I left the meeting in tears, feeling like a fool for thinking I could reclaim my power. As the days turned into weeks, the pain of my failure hardened into something darker. I began to plot. I knew I could not confront Sarah directly. That had proven futile. Instead, I decided to take a different route. I researched social media and how influential Sarah had become. I found a group of disgruntled former friends of hers, many of whom shared my story of betrayal. We gathered in the shadows of the internet and devised a plan to expose her. Our game was long, complex, and dangerous. We planned to release our evidence subtly, backing it up with our stories, creating a web of truth that would entangle her. Little by little, we gathered anonymous testimonials, each revealing times when Sarah had crossed the line, undermining others to lift herself higher. But just as momentum was shifting, disaster struck. One of my new allies got cold feet and leaked our plans to Sarah. I felt despondent. My heart sank into the pit of my stomach as the walls closed in around me. Sarah didn't just use the information against me, she twisted it, portraying me as the so-called instigator who had tried to sabotage her for my jealousy. I felt like I had lost everything. The effort I had put in seemed to vanish into thin air. I had lost my friends, my self-respect, and the little support I had. I thought that was the end for me, for my desires for revenge and for my dignity. But in that moment of despair, a voice within me rose up. I could not let Sarah have the last laugh. I was better than that. I decided to make one more move. With the last ounce of courage, I crafted an anonymous social media post. I detailed the truth about the gala, how Sarah had attempted to sabotage it. I explained how bright young women like me were constantly being overshadowed by users like her who would stop at nothing to steal their light. I knew the post could go viral, and that risk ignited my fear into determination. I risked everything. As time passed, my words began to turn the tide. Local influencers picked it up, and soon whispers began to circle around town about Sarah's true nature. Sarah's carefully curated image began to crumble as her past deeds were exposed. I reveled in the thrill of the unfolding events. And just as I thought I had finally won, I felt a pang in my heart. The pursuit of revenge was taking me down a path I never wanted. Months later, I met the people I had grown close to during this tumultuous journey. As we stood together, watching Sarah's fall from grace, I realized how I had transformed. I was no longer the timid woman staring at her shadows. I was a force that had fought back, a lioness reclaiming her roar. I finally understood that each battle has its cost. While I had lost a friend in the process, I gained a newfound self-respect. In the end, my victory did not feel like a triumph at all. Instead, it marked a new beginning. I took solace in the support of women who had faced similar struggles, and together we forged deeper bonds. Sarah might have been my nemesis, but I learned to forgive and move on. The thrill of revenge was fleeting. What remained was the strength I found within myself. I realized the greatest gift I had redeemed was not revenge but empowerment, and that made me truly free.